Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Jack and Glenn channel. Before we get started, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so you don't miss any of our reviews. Today we're going to talk about Put a Ring on It, Season 4, Episode number 8, The Gift. We saw the couples all meet with Dr. Stacy. Dr. Stacy talked about their relationships, the relationships and the dates that they went on. We find out that the people that are going on new dates will be Ricky. Jasha will be going on to a new date. Joya will be going back out with Luther. Catherine is going to go on a third date with Marcus. Zay will be going on a second date with Kenyatta, and then Jasmine will be getting a new date as well. All the couples talked about how their partners and things were going on. Jasha talked about Luther a little bit and how Joya seemed happy and excited about the date that she went on with Luther, and Luther will be getting another date. So let's start right there. I want to start with the Luther, Joya, and Jasha situation. Joya is really excited and happy about Luther because it's a breath of fresh air. He's kind of like Jasha in a sense, some of the same similarities, and we'll see that with Jasha's date, Soraya, that she's kind of like Joya as well. That maybe have been the theme of this episode, giving them that somebody who's just like their partner. But Luther and Joya go on another date. We see Luther here, who painted a beautiful picture for Joya. It has turquoise in it. It is pink, like the flamingo. It has the New York on there. And she was really head over heels about this painting. Because, again, as she mentions later on, it was the thoughtfulness that took place. It was thoughtful. He took time. He took effort to do it. It wasn't something that he paid for. It wasn't a big extravagant gift. It was something that he made out of his heart and was caring. It was thought provoking, and she really enjoyed that. He wrapped it. He took the time to wrap it up and took the time to present it to her. And what was really important and what I got out of it was that he didn't even know if he was going to get a second date or not. And so he painted it for anticipating that he would get a second date. He said in his confessional or during a date with her, I didn't know. I just felt that we had good chemistry, we had a good vibe, that we were going to go on a second date. So I decided to do something for you, which was gift. And like I said, mentioned earlier, she was head over heels because of the gift that he presented to her. And they had great conversation while they were sitting there having dinner too. And she even asked my man to open up his shirt so she can see his chest. And she was really impressed by his tattoos, really impressed by his chest. The physical attraction between the two is there. The question was even asked. Luther asked her the question: if this was 2 years earlier, before you met Jasha, and I approached you, would you consider going out with me? And she said, you know what, it might have been a possibility. So she's feeling Luther. She has a great conversation with Luther. I think if Jasha wasn't in the picture, she may go out with Luther again. We'll see if she goes out with Luther for a third time. I'll be interested to see. I think her and Luther has a good chemistry. I think she likes Luther, but I think the hold that Jasha has on her is a little too strong. We see Jasha goes out with Soraya. Soraya is just kind of like Joya. She's into real estate. She has kids. She's been married before, just like Jasha had been married before. Both got married when they was young. The relationships were separated. Soraya's relationship was no longer there. She has 2 kids out of the relationship. She's into real estate. She's part Jamaican, like Joya is. And they were having great conversation, great vibe. He was feeling her, and it seemed like there could be an attraction there. But as he said later when they met with Dr. Stacy, he doesn't want another Joya, right? He doesn't need another real estate agent. He wants Joya. One of the biggest things that came out of that was that Soraya said she didn't mind. She doesn't want to have any more kids, but if her husband or the guy she's with wanted to have kids, then she was open to it. And when if you've been watching the show, that's a big thing in Joya and Jason's relationship. Joya wants to be married and have another child, and Jasha is more comfortable with what he has now and doesn't want to add any more children to the relationship. And that's one of the big issues why he probably hasn't asked Joya to marry him, because she wants a child and she wants to do it while she's married and not just in a relationship with him. But he mentioned again, as I go back to it, he doesn't want Soraya. He doesn't want another Joya. He's not going to go back on another date with Soraya. It was fine. It was good. It was fun. but it's not something that he wants to do now and pursue the relationship with Soraya. Now, but Joya, on the other hand, did mention that she didn't give the answer about going on another date with Luther, but she did enjoy the date with Luther. She enjoyed how Luther was considerate, how the painting and the gift. She loved how the thought that he put into it, which made her say that her love language is the gifting. And now Jasha does give her gifts, but they're big and extravagant. She says she wants things that's just for her. They go on trips, they do things, but it's them together. It is not nothing just for her. And Jasha took kind of offense to that. He was like, I do things for you, and it's just not big. Now I think he missed the point. She wants something specifically for her, and it's not having to be. He doesn't have to spend money to do it. He doesn't have to go paint a picture like Luther, but it could be some small things. Now he's thinking. It brought him to tears. He was emotional, like, I do stuff for you. Don't never say never using definite terms. And I don't like definite terms neither. Like when you say never and you don't, that stuff like that, it makes somebody feel some type of way. You can never say never because there are things that he does for her. It just doesn't, I guess, doesn't make her feel the way that Luther made her feel. But when you say never, it's like, oh, you never lie. No, everybody lies. Or you never take me out. Yeah, there's a time I do it. So again, those type of things, those terms do hurt people. He missed her point, though. He really missed the point because she wants him to be more thoughtful about the things that he do. And let it just be for her and not for them, which I totally understand. But I see Jasha was a little nervous about Luther because he seen the smile on her face and she wore a new dress that she never wore before. She really got put up for Luther. So Jasha should be worried. He should be worried about Luther. Joya is not so much. Jasha wants Joya. That's the end of the day. He's gonna ask Joya to marry him. But does Joya want Jasha because of this kid situation? Only time will tell. Then we move on to Zay and Jasmine. Zay goes out with Kenyatta for the second time. Now she's really feeling Zay, right? She wants Zay. They went to a gym where there was some boxing going on, and there was no touching. And she began to ask Zay about the boundaries and the touching that's going on. She wanted to see him take his shirt off, and this is she said in the vignette. But he stayed true to who he was. He kept the boundaries that was set in him and Jasmine's relationship. They had great conversation, him and Kenyatta. He said he really learned what it means to listen, right? His biggest issue, he's not a good listener. His mind is always 50 million other places, and he's not listening to Jasmine like he should. But he did listen to Kenyatta, and their date was pretty good. She was feeling him, but he's not feeling her because he really wants to be with Jasmine. She's keeping that boundaries. Now go to Jasmine and Josie. Jasmine has a date with this young gentleman named Josie. Josie comes in, he has the umbrella, being respectful, says not a competition, comes in the house, meets Zay, he meets Jasmine, he shakes Jasmine's hand, then he goes in for a hug. She's like, no hugging. That's the boundary that we set. I'm not going to hug you. Then she goes in a confessional. She said, I'm not going to hug you, especially not in this house, not in front of Zay, not in front of, I don't want to be disrespectful, which I understand if that's the boundaries you set. But again, a hug's a hug, right? He wasn't trying to grab your butt. He wasn't trying to do nothing. He just wanted to win in for a hug. Some people are huggers, right? He wasn't doing any of that. But if that's their boundaries they set, that's the boundary they set. And she even told Josie, I'll explain it to you later. And when they go on their date, they went ice skating. She does explain a little bit later why he didn't get a hug. And he goes on to try to be funny. He said, look, if you fall, is it okay if I pick you up? And she's like, oh, you better pick me up. He said, okay, cool, But he was respectful throughout the whole date, even when they was talking about him being engaged. And she asked how come it didn't materialize into marriage. And he was like, I wasn't there yet. I wasn't grown up yet. I had some things that we had some things that we need to work on. That means somebody cheated, somebody did something in the relationship. But he was very respectful. He listened. He was in tune to what she was saying. He had thought-provoking questions that they needed. The thought-provoking questions. He understood where she was coming from about being a communicator. She really enjoyed the date with Josie, and I can see them together. I think she was really feeling him, and he was really feeling her. The engagement that they had was good. The ice skating was a great date for them to go on. But again, she's not going to leave Zay. I think she wants to be with Zay. She just needs Zay to change and do some things differently in the relationship. But Josie might be he might get a second date, right? He might get a second date because they did a great job. He did a great job on their date, and you could really see how they could end up together, and how he's really thought provoking. They had the Brooklyn and New York connection together, and so they understood each other's language and understood where each other came from. And he was a little bit more masculine and a little bit more street than the other guy that she went on. I think the other guy's name was Sean, and that's why she didn't go out with Sean again, because she said she needed somebody who was a little bit more street, right? Who had a little bit more street cred, or a little, I don't know what you call it, street cred, a little bit more thug in him than Sean. Sean was more your Farnsworth Bentley. And again, she didn't do that. But Josie was kind of down to earth type guy. They had great conversation. Great, they connected very well. All part of the date was very intentional, and so they did well. Let's move on to Catherine and Ricky. Ricky ended up getting a new date. He went out with Kay. I thought I was watching a therapy session. They go get some ice cream. Even the body posturing from Miss K was like, okay, go ahead and tell me your problems. Tell me your issues. And Ricky starts spilling out all the issues and all the problems. And Kay was like, okay, you know, yeah, I've been married before, and I understand. I totally understand. And I'm sitting there watching. I'm like, man, this is like a therapy session. Outing, right? And that Ricky's having. He said that Kay wasn't his type before she was a little bit older. She's 40 something, and I can't remember what Ricky's age is, but they were having those type of discussions, and he seemed like he was getting more advice or more therapy from her than anything else, not in a romantic type involvement. Even when they get to Dr. Stacy, he said he does not want to go out with Kay again, that he would rather look for a different date. But on the other hand, Catherine and Marcus, right? They go out on a third date. Now, we find out that Marcus, at this point, had gone back to Dallas, Texas to handle some business, but he willing to fly back in to go out with Catherine. They talk more about her and Ricky's relationship and what's going on with them. I like her and Marcus, but sometimes it seems like Marcus is doing too much, that he's pushing the envelope just a little bit too much, that he just wants to. I'm not sure if he likes Catherine or he likes the thought of being on the show with Catherine and how he can enhance the relationship, or he's trying to get sleep with her. But whatever it is, he looks better than Ricky on paper. The conversations her and him have are better than Ricky, and the ones that better than Ricky and her have. At least Marcus has his own place. She doesn't have to stay in a house with Ricky and his family. Which we find out later on when they talk to Dr. Stacy. Catherine reveals that that's her fear. One of her fears is being alone, which is why she is with Ricky. In this case, a piece of man is better than no man at all. And that's what I hear her saying. I'd rather be with Ricky than be alone and be by myself. Look. Her and Ricky relationship has a lot of work. It's okay, they can be cool friends. I think they can be better friends than lovers. He will always be her friend. I think Marcus may be a little bit better. When you go on 4 dates with somebody, I've watched this show, I think season 1. When you start going on the 4th date with a person, that means you really like that person. She said, well, I still there's some things I got to get with Marcus about. I got to make a decision. I think she's going to make a decision to go with Marcus because of the conversation they're having, the connection they have. Ricky's not really providing some of the things for her. And Ricky said, look, I'll be there for you. I'm like, he want to be her hero. You can't come and save her every time she goes out there, right? You have to. She's like, Ricky, you got some things that you need to work on for yourself. You're not 100% safe. You're not 100% taken care of. You're not where you're supposed to be. Don't try to come save me when you need saving yourself. So what it seems like is Ricky's always been saving her and not doing things for himself because that's his rock. Catherine needs to look out for Catherine and not look out for Ricky. She needs to do what but it all stems from, if you saw the past episode, stems from her relationship with her father, not knowing him till she was about 14 years old. So she feels a void, not having a great relationship with her mother. So she feels fear of being left alone, fear of being abandonment is what Catherine has. So she doesn't know how to be by herself. And I think she might need to be by herself to get herself together before she even pursue a relationship with Marcus, if that's what she wants to do. Catherine needs some help for herself. And she realized that, and she mentioned that when they were talking to Dr. Stacy, that she does need to get a little bit of help for herself. So only time will tell. See what Catherine does next week. Find out next week that the men go tuxedo shopping. The women will go, I believe, dress shopping and things of that nature. So we're getting down to the end of the road on Put a Ring on It. We'll see who would pop the question, who would ask their mate to marry them, or will they go separate ways? I do think that Catherine is not going to stay with Ricky. I think Zay and Jasmine will stay together, and I think Joya and Jasha will stay together just because they are compatible and they can work the kid thing, they can work the child thing out. Luther is closing on Jasha though. Luther is closing on Jasha. I think if you look at the way that Joya was smiling heads over heels about Luther, and you can see that it's something that's there, but only time will tell. Hey, if you stayed this far to the video, if you watched all this video, if you watched me give the review, make sure you hit the subscribe button, make sure you hit that bell notification. We thank you, appreciate it. If you leave a comment in the comment section below, check out some of our other videos. Let me know your thoughts on Put a Ring on It, Season 4, Episode number 8, The Gift. Talk to you later.